You're watching FemChef FGC. Like and subscribe to my favorite gladiator on the Citadel.
Hello YouTube, I'm FemChef, and this is the long-form version of my playlist-made short-form series, What That Button Do, in which I go over general use cases for all of Modern Marisa's normals. You can check out those individual videos in the playlist, but if you prefer long-form, everything here is timestamped and includes everything from all of those previously posted videos, so you can access a guide to all of Modern Marisa's normals in one place. The normals that Modern Marisa loses include stand heavy kick, stand light kick, crouch medium kick, and forward heavy punch, her overhead. So none of those buttons will be covered in this series because I don't have them. So I can't really advise you on how to use them. This is specifically for Modern Marisa players. If you want a guide to how to use those additional buttons, you should talk to someone who plays Classic. And so the buttons that we will be covering include all of her aerial normals, so jump light punch, jump medium punch, jump heavy punch, jump light kick, jump medium kick, jump heavy kick, and then standing normals, stand light punch, stand medium punch, stand heavy punch, crouching normals, crouch light punch, crouch light kick, crouch medium punch, crouch heavy punch, down forward heavy kick, command normals, forward medium punch, forward heavy kick, back heavy punch, and I believe that is it. And of course, all of the associated target combos for some of those buttons, such as this. And with that, I'm just going to go right into the videos that I had already made, alongside a couple of little addendums I recorded later with additional information that I forgot to include the first time around. I hope you enjoy! Hello YouTube, and welcome to a new short series I am starting called What That Button Do, in which we go through all of Modern Marisa's normals and their utility in various situations. I find one of the things that people are often still getting to grips with as they're trying to get to master rank or trying to get out of low MR is that there are whole buttons on their character that they don't really think about using, they don't really understand what the use cases are, they don't know what the conversions are, they aren't sure really just why anyone would prefer that button over a different button. And I think all of Modern Marisa's normals are useful in different circumstances, so I thought it would be helpful to kind of make a bunch of short videos instead of one really long video, so if there's one button that you're like, man, I never even pressed that button, you can start here. And so I'm going to start with the stand medium kick, which is just stand medium on modern, no auto modifier. As you can see, on hit, this button is +4. However, the only thing that you're going to have that's 4 frames is your crouch jab, so at range, you can't combo this into anything. However, if for some reason you happen to get it up close, it does actually combo into crouch jab, quarter circle back light. Off of drive rush, this button is +8, which means you can combo it into your back heavy punch, and then go into your quarter circle back heavy and extend from there. Oop. Alternatively, useful especially if you struggle with the motion input, you can combo it into your medium punch target combo with auto, and end with the medium Dima, which you can also do on a simple input if you would like. This button isn't only useful in combos though. This is one of those buttons that can be very useful as a poke because it has so much range. I sometimes jokingly call this the baby quadriga because of Modern Marisa losing her access to her usual Spartan kick special move, because this still goes pretty far. It doesn't really have a lot of forward movement, so you have to make sure you're in range before you use it, but it does go pretty far. So mid-screen, as you're kind of feeling each other out, it can be useful as a keep away tool of don't enter my space that goes a little bit further than, say, your crouch medium punch or your stand medium punch, and it's less high risk than swinging out with a heavy button, but it's still a you have to respect my space tool that comes out pretty pretty fast. It's only 11 frame startup, which is a frame faster than the stand heavy punch, and so it is useful mid-screen as a poke. The place I like to use this button the most often, though, is often as a corner pressure tool as opposed to a mid-screen poke. And that is because this button has so much pushback, even if they block it. It'll push you out gradually further and further. So if you use this button at max range, it can put you in a position where if they try to press a medium button after blocking the stand medium kick, let's do the crouch medium kick here, since we all know Shotos love that button. That button will whiff, and it can set up a whiff punish opportunity. But you have to get the range right. As you can see, you really got to do this from like max range. This button is also useful in certain Oki situations where other buttons could also be used. In particular, plus 13 knockdowns where you could meaty with a forward heavy kick or a command grab. Often, if you meaty with the stand medium kick instead, it will allow you to be actually safe to drive reversal if you are also holding back. And on hit, you'll be plus 7, and so you will be able to combo into your medium punch target combo, or on counter hit, since. Welcome back to my new Modern Marisa short series, What That Button Do. And the button for this episode is going to be your stand heavy punch. So, what can Marisa do with stand heavy punch? This button isn't necessarily bad as a poke because it has pretty far range. It has pretty similar range to the stand heavy kick in that it's among her farthest range normals. But it's pretty slow. For comparison, stand medium kick is 11 frames and goes pretty far. Stand heavy punch is 12 frames. It goes decently far, but there's definitely potential for them to walk out of it. And so you want to make sure that if you're throwing this out in neutral, you understand that they aren't just walking back, you're kind of taking turns with buttons, and you have a read that it's going to catch them in the startup of a button from the far range you are throwing it. However, on regular hit, as you can see, this button is only plus 3. And since your fastest normals in this game are 4 frames, that means you can't combo into anything off the single hit. You can potentially hit confirm it into the target combo, and that knockdown is plus 42. So it is also a safe jump if it takes them to the corner. Mid-screen, this knocks them away pretty far, so you aren't going to be able to do your safe jump unless you were already close enough to the corner for the target combo to send them to the corner in a range where you could still jump at them. That wasn't even quite close enough. However, on counter hit, when you catch them with the startup of a button in the neutral back and forth, now you are plus 5. And that means it can combo into crouch jabs, into quarter circle back light, like this. And that, of course, also means that you can go into super off of that if you have level 3. Where you're really gonna get the money shot off of this button, though, is when you have it on punish counter. When you are whiff punishing a button, and you get this. Because on punish counter, this button is plus 7, even from neutral. And that means that on punish counter, you can get a whiff punish that looks like this. And that's without even spending meter. You can get a much bigger combo if you spend meter. Now, this also applies, punish counter and drive rush have the same frame advantage. So off of drive rush with this button, you are plus 7, you can combo into your medium punches. If it is at least counter hit or punish counter, then in that same situation, you can hit confirm into back heavy punch instead so that you can extend your combo without needing to spend meter. On block, This button is -3, so it is safe. As long as it doesn't miss, if they block it, you cannot get punished for them blocking this button. In addition, in any -3 situation, if they've shown you they like to immediately take their turn back, it's a turn steal opportunity with OD stance, but that is neither here nor there. The important thing is that this button is safe on block. You can go into the target combo on block, which will frame trap big buttons, but it can get interrupted by fast buttons, such as the crouch light punch. As you can see, it gets interrupted, but if Ryu were trying to press a medium, then he would get counter hit, and even if only the second hit connects on the target combo, it is still a safe jump. Trying to think of what else this has that would be particularly important. Oh, on block. This button is +1. So you can do a tick throw, but the throw does lose if they mash a 4 frame. Technically, the throw is not real. You want to see how they react first. If they are mashing because they think you are going to throw, you can frame trap them with crouch light punch into quarter circle back light. If they are throw tacking, then you can shimmy them. And if they think you are going to shimmy and they're trying to press a bigger button that will catch the walk back, like crouch medium kick, then you can get away with pressing a bigger button. However, this is not the end. All of Marisa's charged heavies have an additional property, or all of Marisa's heavies have an additional property in that they can be charged. And charging the heavy punch changes it significantly. For one thing, even without counter hit, fully charged stand heavy punch combos into the medium punch target combo. And on at least counter hit, you can then combo into back heavy punch instead. This button is useful as long as they aren't really far away and able to walk out of it, as a way to call out people just trying to walk away from you. Because blocking this button isn't great for them either. But first I'm going to finish discussing what it does on hit. Actually, yeah, we already get the same frame data off of just charge and neutral with counter hit and punish counter. I don't really have to go into anything separate with drive rush. Obviously, drive rush has the same +4 frame advantage as punish counter. So if you hit this off of drive rush, always go into back heavy punch, save yourself the meter. But on block is where this gets interesting. This button is +4 on block, which makes your stand medium punch a real frame trap, even if they try to press their fastest button. Most people will start to respect that, even if they didn't already know that, when they keep getting counter hit for pressing. So they're going to stop pressing. And once they stop pressing, things can get kind of funny. Because look how much drive meter this takes away from Ryu when he blocks it. If he blocks even 2 of these in a row, that's a bar and a half of drive meter gone, and it's daring him to try to do something. Yeah, he could perfect parry it, but a lot of times they're finally gonna go, I know you don't have time to loop that, I'm finally gonna press a button, and then when they finally press a button, you went for the frame trap, they get hit, GG's. Since this button combos on punish counter into back heavy punch, it is also very good as a DP punish. Starting like that. So obviously just blocking this button isn't great either. In addition, the only real frame trap you have here is with the medium punch, but you can get a trade if you do back heavy punch. And that trade leaves you +11. So you can actually combo into another back heavy punch. And you can always buffer that if they block the whole thing. This is a block string that can set up a spacing trap and then takes a whole bar of drive meter on block. So if they block the whole thing, look at their drive meter. Almost 2 bars gone, and puts them at a spacing that is very good for you. If you drive rushed into this button and they blocked it, you are actually +8. So this is a true block string, and this is a true block string, which means that all of this actually is a true block string. They can't do anything if they block the first hit, and it's a great way to potentially burn them out. I could go on and on about the advantages of charged heavy bullying. If you want to see it in action, I recommend watching Lazy Boredom streams. But it suffices to say that the charged version of this button is also very, very strong. Whether you are catching them walking back in neutral, preemptively guessing that they might press after a spacing trap, punishing a DP, using it on Oki. There are so many uses for this button. So between the charged version of the Stand Heavy Punch and the regular version of the Stand Heavy Punch, there was a whole lot to chew on here, and I hope you found this helpful. Editing Room Shep back with a couple of additional pieces of information about Stand Heavy Punch that got missed when I recorded the first video. And the first of those things is the frame trap situation off the target combo. If they are matching a 4-frame, they can interrupt the second hit of the target combo. But this is actually no longer the case if you charge the first hit, in which case it will still counter hit the 4-frame. And worth noting, you do not have to have connected with both hits of the target combo for that knockdown to be a +42 safe jump. As long as it was the target combo, even if only the second hit connected, the knockdown is still +42. If they block the entire thing, you are +2 here. You're not actually close enough to do anything with that. You have to press a medium to continue your pressure, and if they know that, they might mash a light to call you out trying to press where you shouldn't. But most people, or at least at a lot of ranks leading up towards more advanced, are going to try to press their own medium here to take their turn back, because their own lights won't reach you here either unless you try to press something. And if he, for instance, tried to press his crouch medium kick, then your own medium will beat them pressing their medium, and you can potentially continue your pressure. I also mentioned earlier that doing the charge target combo leads to a safe jump knockdown and a juggle. But just charging the first hit and ending it there can also be good, since you can get meterless Oki by dashing forward or jumping forward after the knockdown into a couple of different potential setups, and it still does a lot of damage. You can also combo into level 2 doing just the singular charged heavy punch if the demo you did beforehand was OD. And last but not least, I incorrectly said earlier that it wouldn't really be a good idea to press the back heavy punch after the singular charge stand heavy punch because you're not actually plus enough for it to beat mashing, but that trade is actually in your favor and allows you to just press the button again. So that's actually a lot better than it first appeared. And that is all I have for addendums on Stand Heavy Punch. Back to the rest of the video. Welcome back to What That Button Do, and we're finally going to be talking about Marisa's Stand Medium Punch, which is on auto combo on Modern, and also the associated Stand Medium Punch target combo. So, by itself, one hit of the Stand Medium Punch doesn't combo into anything. You are only +2. You would have to be doing it off of Drive Rush for it to combo into anything, in which case, yeah, it'll go into crouch jabs. But, like, that's weird. Nobody does that. On counter hit, you can potentially confirm it into back heavy punch off of Drive Rush. But, again, that's kind of a weird niche circumstance. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Most of the time with this actually hitting, you're going to want to do the target combo. And the target combo can go into medium quarter circle back or OD quarter circle back. off of when it is blocked, it is unsafe on block at -8. So most of the time, you're not going to want to do this by itself unless you are trying to bait an option that is slower than 8 frames, or if they are in burnout and you are only -4 instead of -8, it can be a stronger bait option. Most of the time, you want to end this with something, and I have a separate video about all of the different enders you can do off the medium punch target combo, but there have been some updates in Season 3, so I'm going to try to go through this in brief really quickly. Your only safe ender off of this is to drive rush cancel into a light. If you drive rush cancel into the crouch light kick and they were stand blocking, then they will get hit, and crouch light kick is on light auto combo, so it will then auto hit confirm into a knockdown. However, you are only +1 if they block the crouch light kick, whereas if they block your crouch light punch, you are +3 and you get true strike or throw or shimmy mix off of that situation. So it is still pretty strong, even though it is expensive. With it being her only safe ender to this to spend 3 bars, it still leaves you in a +3 situation, and since it is a true block string, the only thing that can be done during that drive rush is if they do a drive reversal. It is also possible to just end this with Gladius, but there is always going to be a gap there where they could super or DP or press a button. So you want to vary how much you charge the Gladius so that you could catch them pressing a fast button, punish them pressing a big button, mess up their perfect parry timing. They can obviously jump if you charge it, or they can catch you low if you charge it, so you want to vary your options. The phalanx will go over if they try to press a low after the target combo. You can drive rush cancel it into other things as well. This is good if they block or parry, but they can mash in the gap. It's not real. What will catch them mashing in the gap is my personal favorite, canceling into the crouch medium punch, in which case on hit, with it being counter hit, you can also or on block, you're going to be +2, strike, throw, shimmy, city. So you have a lot of options off of the medium punch target combo, but you do need to be aware that using it all the time is going to constantly put you in situations where if you don't want to spend 3 bars of drive, you will be leaving gaps in your pressure where they could just DP. Charged OD Gladius will beat every OD DP in the game, but it is still vulnerable to supers in the gap, or to them neutral jumping the ODDP, or they can just perfect parry, drive reversal you off of them, so you're still potentially leaving yourself open. A lot of times, you will want to press only 1 medium punch, even though there is very little reward on a hit, because it is a good way to just poke at them. It's a decent check, it comes out fast. The target combo is also really, really good at checking drive rush. At pretty much like yay range, it's going to be your best drive rush check, like in the game. It has a very disjointed hitbox, so it'll catch a lot of things as they're coming, and it comes out pretty fast. So in terms of just throwing this button out, it's difficult to whiff punish unless they're really close to you and unless they're really looking for it. It's pretty safe to throw out a single medium punch just to kind of test if they're blocking or what they're going to do, or from a distance to create some visual noise and ambiguity in your movement, because there's not really anything they can do about it from far away. And I believe that is going to be it for the stand medium punch and the medium punch target combo. If you found this helpful, drop a like, a sub, a comment, all that good stuff. Check out the rest of the series and have a great day. Welcome back to What That Button Do, and we are on to the last of Marisa's standing normals, and that is going to be her stand light punch. By itself, you don't really get anything off of this. It's safe on block. You can set up a tick throw situation off of it on drive rush at a lot of ranges, but by itself, it doesn't really do that much. It's 6 frame startup, not 4 frames. Marisa's only 4 frame is her crouch jab. And the important thing about this is that it has a target combo attached to it. Now, that target combo does beat them mashing in the gap. So you can just buffer into like Gladius to potentially get a knockdown. but they can try to perfect parry your reversal in the gap, so you have to be aware of that. If you do this into Light Gladius, it takes about half a bar of their drive meter, and it spaces them out pretty far. So a lot of pushback, not bad. Doing just the target combo by itself, though, sets up a spacing trap a whole lot of the time, no matter where you are on the screen. That could potentially net you a whiff punish. Oh, he needs to block twice. Obviously, since it's not hit confirmable, then most of the time, you're just going to be doing it into Light Gladius, so if it hits, it hits, but if it's blocked, you're okay. However, if the entire target combo hits, and he was not blocking, well, this is the funny thing about this with there being a gap. If the first hit hits, they can still block the second hit if it wasn't at least counter hit. If it is counter hit, then the whole thing hits. So your meterless conversion is usually going to be into medium quarter circle back. Or if you're in the corner and you're not worried about how far away it knocks them, maybe Gladius. But if you see that counter hit notification pop up while you're doing the target combo, you can get a much bigger combo by doing a drive rush cancel into your stand medium kick. And even with this being a light starter, if we were to do the proper cash out, we can do almost 50% damage starting from the target combo. Sometimes on block, I will also like to go into a drive rush cancel into the crouch medium punch, because it sets up a +2 situation where you can strike throw shimmy. I'm not actually sure if that beats buttons. Let me just check real quick. Nope, true block string, actually. True block string. So if they block through the second hit of the target combo and you go into this, then that's guaranteed. There's no gap, they can't do anything in the gap, and you can set up your +2 situation. Off of Drive Rush, I find Drive Rush Command Grab is quite a bit better off of this than it is off the medium punch target combo. It's still not as good as it is off of the forward heavy kick Drive Rush, but it's better because it's a little bit faster and harder to react to. As you can see, it's still not actually real, and you can get jabbed out of it, but it can be good sometimes if you think they're just gonna block. Before, this was Marisa's best drive reversal punish starter, but with the changes in the frame data on her lights in the most recent patch, that is no longer true. So I'm not going to cover drive reversal punishes in this video. That is all I have to say about Marisa's stand light punch. Back to what that button do, and we are moving on to Marisa's crouching normals. We are going to start with crouch heavy, which is crouch heavy punch. This button has one most obvious purpose, and that is as an anti-air. It isn't great as an anti-air, but none of her buttons are. It tends to get counter hit a lot, it doesn't have a super great hitbox, and it is finicky about what ranges it will actually anti-air from. Like, if Ken is just jumping at us from directly over our head, like this, then yeah, it's a good anti-air. But if Ken is kind of landing in front of us, it'll still catch him if he's like right in front of us. But if he's even a little bit further away, sometimes it'll just miss and he just lands like in front of you, like that. And against cross-ups, of course, it doesn't work. So it is one option as an anti-air, but it depends. I find it is most useful for keeping people in the corner if Marisa is standing about with her head right under the timer. From this range, if Ken were to jump forward, then it'll keep him in the corner. So it can be good in those circumstances. But like all of her anti-airs, it does depend. However, this button also has a surprising amount of combo utility. Anywhere that you could combo into a fully charged back heavy punch command normal, you can usually combo into a fully charged crouch heavy punch, because like all of Marisa's heavies, there is a charged version. So, what's the deal with the charged version? Well, if you actually just straight up land the charged version, it is a combo starter by itself. You're not really gonna be landing that raw though, except in very niche circumstances. Sometimes doing it on your wake up in the corner works as a hard call out to them neutral jumping. Sometimes doing it delayed on your wake up in the corner will catch them autopiloting into delayed button attempt off a shimmy. Sometimes you can use it as a hard read if they are blocking something that they are going to jump out and preemptively get what you wanted, like this. And then the combo route changes depending on like how high they are in the air. But here I'm charging, as you can see, before he jumps. And the combo routes from there go kind of crazy. They're very situational depending on the height and how much drive you have, so experiment in the training room, but know that there are certain situations where you can hard read with the fully charged crouch heavy. On punish counter, you get a really, really ridiculous amount of juggle. They go so high to the point where actually, as long as you micro walk forward after you block the DP so you're close enough, you can do this on punish in the corner. 3 in a row. Because it bounces them so high. And that is another thing worth noting, as you can see there, that the fully charged crouch heavy punch can cancel into a fully charged level 1 super. So that is part of what makes it so useful in juggles, where you started with something else, like say this. You can also use the charged version to extend your combos into basically max damage for modern in the corner, like this. Into level 3. And anywhere in those juggles, again, you could just be using the charged version into level 1. Off the Phalanx wall splat, you can now fully charge it into level 1 as well. To get even more damage. For the punish counter version of that juggle, you're only really going to get it if you blocked a DP, and it leads to some unique punishes that aren't always worth it. If you want to be preemptive with it and do a hard read, you can do it preemptively in a shimmy situation, because if they do just block, as long as they didn't interrupt it, you're only -3. So you're safe on block with potential turn steal potential, but that is neither here nor there. So it is safe on block if you charge it. But if he had gone for a delay tech in the tick throw situation, does this no longer work? Okay, you just have to get the right range, because now they can catch you walking back a little bit better in the new patch with the throw, but if you walk back far enough. And then on punish, obviously, again, the routes vary. I really don't do this because I don't think it's as rewarding, considering they might not delay tech, but if you have a hard read, there you have it as a combo starter. In juggles, as a hard read, as an anti-air, that is pretty much it with Marisa's Crouch Heavy Punch. I am going to demonstrate real quick what I was talking about with potentially using it as a hard read in the corner, and I'm going to switch our characters for that.
Marisa.
If she does a delayed... Which one of these is delayed? That one. If she does a delayed wake up, charge, crouch, heavy punch, it has the potential to beat me neutral jumping on her wake up into combo. Oh, she has to be wake up reversal, not block reversal. As you can see. Alternatively, if she does it immediately, it might catch me autopiloting a punish on a shimmy when she didn't actually throw attack like this. And then I get counter hit into full combo. So that's another use case, but it is, again, a very hard read. Your mileage may vary. There are some pretty wacky combo routes with this button on punish counter that I'm not going to get into here, since this is an attempt to be brief and not a full-blown combo video. You can always check out full-blown combo videos on my channel if that's something you're interested in, but this should cover the general use cases for Marisa's Crouch Heavy Punch. Living Room Shop back with 2 additional quick comments about Crouch Heavy Punch. And the first is, if this lands punish counter, particularly against certain aerial options, commonly say DJ's knee drop, if it lands punish counter, it is always a juggle starter, even if it wasn't charged. There are some fancy combo routes you can do there, but to keep it simple, you can always just drive rush into back heavy punch and extend from there. In addition, anytime you just knock your opponent out of the air with this as an anti-air, you get basically auto-timed Oki into drive rush, forward heavy kick, drive rush, command grab, potentially drive rush, crouch medium punch. He gets very good Oki off of this landing as just a regular anti-air. So even though it doesn't do a lot of damage and it's finicky as an anti-air, if you do land it, the follow-up opportunities are actually pretty strong. All right, back to the main video. Back to what that button do, and on this episode we're going to be talking about Marisa's down forward heavy, which is her crouch heavy kick, her sweep. Marisa doesn't really have a great sweep. It's 11 frame startup, so it can't even really punish other sweeps with a sweep. If Ken does his sweep, it is only -10, it's an 11 frame. It actually won't punish, and then you'll just get punished because Marisa's sweep is also -11 on block, in addition to being 11 frame startup. So it is very punishable and it is very slow. You really don't want to just be throwing this out because the risk of being wrong is just so bad. However, like all of Marisa's heavies, there is a charged version, and this is where things get interesting. The charged version, as you can see, is -3, so it is actually safe on block with turn steal potential with OD stance, but that is neither here nor there. You can use the charged version to potentially catch them low, while also keeping yourself safe if it is blocked. But that's not even the most interesting property of Marisa's charged sweep. This button has proximity guard, which means that if Ken is in range of the button and he was walking backwards, the game will not allow him to continue walking backwards. And if he doesn't realize what just happened, he's gonna get hit. And I'm gonna demonstrate that here, just by having Ken do a continuous walk back after he blocks a button. As you can see, he walks all the way back to there. However, see how he stops walking immediately? So this is a powerful way to call out people who just want to start walking out of your range, thinking that Marisa doesn't really have any good lows, because it will stop them in their tracks and knock them down. And I really don't want to go too much into Oki in this series, but this button actually does have really good Oki on standard knockdown. if we have him wake up with his fastest button. You can frame kill with forward medium punch into throw or into lights. Oh, if he doesn't back roll. Now you can back roll sweeps in the new patch. So let's say he's in the corner. If he doesn't back roll, you can also do a forward dash into knee or command grab, which I think might still work on back roll. Yep. But you're not necessarily close enough to command grab outside of the corner.
Where are you going?
So that Oki is a little less good now that they can back roll the sweep. And if it was punish counter and they can't back roll, the Oki changes. So keep that in mind. But the main purpose of this button is going to be calling them out for trying to walk away from you, because Marisa doesn't have a lot of good ways to do that, especially on Modern, where she loses certain buttons. And it being safe on block makes it less risky to throw out. Sometimes I will also drive rush into the charged version as a call out that they are walking around too much, or that they are not ever blocking low on wake up, because again, if they block it, you are only -3 on block, and it's really not the end of the world. In fact, you are actually +1 if it was off of drive rush, so you can't really do anything with that advantage from here because your jab won't even connect, but technically it's still your turn. So this as an occasional jump scare can also be good. My favorite place to use the charge sweep as a call out on walk back, however. As you can see, he's walking away from us on his wake up. After the command grab knockdown mid-screen, Marisa doesn't really get very good Oki, so often people will just try to walk away on her wake up, figuring that there's really not much you can do. And if they don't realize that you have micro-walked forward into the charge sweep, you can catch them walking away and get another knockdown.
Where are you going? Sweet dreams.
Like that. And that is about all I have to say about Marisa's crouch heavy kick. What that button do? And we're going to be talking about Marisa's next crouching normal, and that is her crouching medium punch, which is just crouch medium. This is one of Marisa's absolute best buttons. It's an 8-frame startup, which is 1 frame slower than Ken's crouch medium kick, but actually the same as many of the Shoto crouch medium kicks in the game. It is drive rush cancelable, and it can lead to very big combos on hit. On hit, generally you're going to want to go into the stand medium kick. In that same situation, on block, if you went for this, it's not the end of the world. You're still +2. I mentioned this in a pinned comment for my video about the stand medium kick, but from here you can catch them mashing with a crouch light punch, or you can micro walk forward into a throw. If they were in the corner, you don't have to micro walk forward, and the throw is actually real and also beats them mashing. So not the end of the world. Alternatively, you can do a cancel into a true string off of this, into your jab, and I will get into what you can do from there in the episode about Marisa's crouch jab, her crouch light punch, but that's not bad either because it still sets up a guessing situation, and any drive rush cancel into a jab is a true string that can only be interrupted by a drive reversal. Ken cannot reversal in that gap. A DP or a super does not come out here. The only thing that would come out after Marisa turns green is a drive reversal, which isn't really the end of the world. And of course, if they're just blocking or parrying, you can go into a throw. And as a hard read, if they're just blocking or parrying, it's super fake if you get interrupted by like anything, but it can still be a good call out. This button is great when you are buffering the drive rush cancel behind it, meaning you are tapping parry in the window where if it did connect on hit or on block, you would get a drive rush. But you won't get a drive rush if you're not close enough for it to hit. As you can see, I'm doing the same inputs here, but then it only comes out on hit or on block, and you can then hit confirm. This is a great way to potentially quickly whiff punish if they whiff like a crouch medium kick in your face. You can, when you are moving around in neutral, be buffering this to try to catch them throwing out a button. If you have a read on when they are likely to attempt to throw out a poke, it is very good against crouch medium kicks in particular, and it is one way that you can stop people trying to walk into your space and potentially get a really big combo off of it. On just raw hit, this button is +7, which means it combos into your medium punch target combo. On counter hit, or punish counter, it'll combo into your back heavy punch, if you've really got those with the hit confirms. Because this button is special cancelable, it is also DI cancelable, which also means that in many situations where if you went for this on Oki, you would eat the DI. If you went for this on Oki instead, you would still be able to DI back if they attempt to wake up DI. This is also good for when you have them in the corner as a pressure tool, because if they try to DI, you can always just cancel this into a DI back and not be at risk of them drive impacting their way out of the corner. One of Marisa's best wall splat scenarios to set up on block is a drive rush into this button. Particularly when they are in burnout, that is a guaranteed stun. If they do not have super, they cannot mash out of it. That is one way you can set up your wall splat scenario. On block, this button is +2. Which means throw beats mashing, jab beats mashing, and if they just try to walk away from you after blocking, your light auto combo will actually capture the walk back, and that auto combo hit confirms for you. So if he didn't walk backwards and he just blocked, you are not at risk of the cancel coming out when it didn't work out. You can also, of course, shimmy in any +3 situation. So if he tries to delay tech because you've been showing throw there, GG's. This button can also be good as a drive rush check, potentially, particularly preemptively. Again, if you were buffering the drive rush cancel, then if you had just thrown it out in case they turn green, maybe even at round star, it'll sometimes catch drive rushes that are really difficult to just react to, like Jury or DJ, and then again, you can hit confirm into your full combo. In terms of just playing the neutral, I also will often, if I don't just do this by itself to keep them close, just doing this into Gladius is not bad. It does push them pretty far away, so it's kind of the end of your pressure and resets to neutral, but it's safe. I don't believe he can DP in the gap there. Let me check. Okay, he can DP in the gap there, but a lot of times people won't. I basically never have that happen to me. You have to just see how your opponent likes to play. But this is a good string because they would have to immediately preemptively DP. They can't just guess if you're going to do the Gladius or not, and it's not really reactable on just startup. So most of the time, in case you just did the button, they're not going to randomly DP. This is a pretty safe sequence. And then if he wasn't blocking, great, you get a knockdown. And that is about all I have to say about Marisa's crouch medium punch. Welcome back to What That Button Do, and we are on to Marisa's crouching lights, which are our two final crouching buttons for this series. And the first of those crouching lights is your crouch light kick, which you get as the first hit of the light auto combo. This does mean that on hit or on block, you can't spam it without there being a slight delay in between, or else you will always get the rest of the auto combo being crouch light kick, crouch light punch into quarter circle back light. And the interesting thing about this auto combo, and one of the things that makes it, I think, an advantage of modern Marisa, is that it will hit confirm for you. As you can see here, if I just mash it and it hits, then I get the whole combo. But if Ken is blocking, the special cancel will never come out. it'll just loop. So it makes it safer with the auto hit confirm to potentially use the string off of this button more often. By itself, this button doesn't really have use. It has use in light strings, and it's a built-in light string with a built-in hit confirm, which makes this, I think, again, a stronger button on Modern. That combo itself can be quite good on Oki, particularly from the knockdown itself. It can loop into itself off of Drive Rush. So if he's waking up with his crouch light punch, it is manually timed, but you can just loop it. On counter hit or above, the Drive Rush crouch light kick can actually combo into back heavy punch, but the only person I have seen reliably hit confirm that is Mad Gear, so do with that what you will. On block, obviously it's safe by itself, it's a light, but if you did it off of Drive Rush, especially off of like this or this, it is only +1. So your throw does not beat the mashing. The only thing that beats the mashing would be crouch light punch. This wouldn't even beat the mashing. It's not fast enough, you can't loop it. But you can still sometimes do a fake tick throw in that situation. And again, it is quite good as a cancel here, because if they did get hit low, it'll auto-confirm the rest of the combo. But if they didn't, you won't accidentally autopilot the combo. Sometimes at close range, when they're trying to walk away from you, it can be helpful to just kind of go for their toes a little bit, especially because Marisa does not have her crouch medium kick or her stand light kick in Modern controls. So her only other real low, besides like certain specials, is going to be the sweep, which you can check out my video on the sweep about where that is and isn't good. But it's often not worth the risk, where just going for this real quick to catch if they're trying to walk away or to catch them trying to throw out a bigger button is not a bad idea, because it's 5-frame startup. That's only 1 frame slower than your 4 frames, your jabs, that are the fastest buttons in the game. And that is probably all I have to say about the crouch light kick. Oh, wait, the last thing is that it will catch walk back in certain situations off certain normals, such as if Ken blocks this and then tries to walk away from us. It'll hit confirm when it catches the walk back, or it won't come out. In the corner, the same applies after this button. If they're just standing up or they try to jump or something, then that'll catch them and keep them grounded. Now that is all I have to say about Marisa's crouch light kick. Welcome back to What That Button Do, and it is time for the last of Marisa's crouching normals, and that is her crouch light punch. This is Marisa's only 4-frame. 4 frames are the fastest normals in the game. Some privileged characters like Ken have a standing 4-frame and a crouching 4-frame. You can check out the video on Marisa's stand light punch on how that is not the case and what that button can do, but for now we are focusing on Marisa's crouch light punch, which is her only 4-frame. That means if your opponent is doing anything that can be interrupted with a normal button, this is your go-to interruption tool for interrupting that string. A good example of that actually would be against Jinrai after you block the first hit of Jinrai. Unless they space themselves perfectly, if you slightly delay a jab while blocking, you will block the low follow-up and you will interrupt the overhead follow-up and then confirm into knockdown. The only knockdown that you can get off of this button without any additional properties is going to be into quarter circle back light, like this. Which of course can cancel into level 3. But it is very scaled if you cancel into level 3 from a light. As you can see, that does a lot less damage than it normally would. Off of Drive Rush or on Punish Counter, this button becomes +8. So instead of only being able to chain into itself, for an easy confirm, you can go into your medium punch target combo. Or, for the really, really good one, you can go into your back heavy punch, quarter circle back heavy. This is important because this is Marisa's best way of punishing a drive reversal. I dropped the combo, but you get the idea. So it is very important to practice being able to do that combo as well. On hit, or rather on block. Until the most recent patch, for some reason, Marisa's light chains used to be interruptible, where if they mashed a 4-frame back, they would win. That is no longer the case. If Ken is mashing his fastest button in the middle of this string, he'll get hit, and you can confirm the counter hit into knockdown. On just block, by itself, you're safe, but you don't get anything. However, if it's off of drive rush, you are +3. And that means your throw would beat him mashing, doing a jab or going into your light auto combo would beat him mashing, and you can also shimmy to then blow him up for doing a delay tack. And I will quick demonstrate all of those options, starting with the shimmy. And then if he's just mashing a button, I gotta be close enough. It depends on the distance with the throw being able to beat mashing, because sometimes you're not actually close enough to throw. I'm getting interrupted there, just trying to make sure because I'm not close enough. So it depends on the situation. But you can always beat him mashing with doing it again, or with the light auto combo. Which again, whether or not that's a knockdown is going to depend on distance. The important thing about 4 frames in this game is that they are your only safe ender off a drive rush cancel from a medium. So this, even from Marisa's heavies as well. Because that is a true block string. Meaning, if Ken is trying to do a DP after blocking, it cannot come out until after the sequence is over. Same for super. The only thing that can come out is if he goes for a drive reversal. In which case, there's nothing you can do about that. But if people are consistently reacting to you turning green with doing a DP or doing a super, then going for the cancel into the light instead can be quite good, because it puts you in that advantageous +3 situation, particularly if you're trying to get out of the corner and maybe you delayed this button on your wake up to catch them walking away from you. You can try to go for a back throw, or maybe they think you're going to go for a back throw and they go nuclear and try to go for a DP, and you didn't go for a back throw, you just waited, and then you can blow them up for it. And that is about all I have to say about Marisa's crouch light punch. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a short form series in which we go through use cases for all of modern Marisa's normal attacks. And we are moving on to the second to last category of her normals, and that is command normals other than crouching. So anything input with either a forward direction or a back direction. And we are going to start with forward heavy kick. This button can be accessed just by hitting forward heavy. It is also part of the heavy auto combo. The heavy auto combo also ends in a quadriga. So if you want access to quadriga, this is a special move that Modern Marisa loses access to entirely otherwise. So if you already know you are mid-combo, you are routing into forward heavy kick, and you want the quadriga ender, then you need to remember to use the heavy auto combo. But that is the only time I'm going to be talking about the auto combo in this video, because most of the time you're just going to be accessing this button with forward heavy. And on a hit, as you can see, this button is actually 0. You can't hit confirm it into anything. You need to be buffering it into an option in advance. One of those options is Gladius, in which case, yes, you get a good combo on hit, but also if it was blocked, it chips an entire bar of their drive gauge, and it sets up a spacing trap where at this range, any of his medium attacks would whiff, and you can then whiff punish into a big combo. Alternatively, you can choose to buffer into a Phalanx. This is not actually a combo, I don't believe, at any strain. Yeah, even light, this is not actually a combo. So if the knee hit, you reset them into a Phalanx. If they block it standing, it'll be +2. If they block it crouching, it'll be +1. So a little bit of plus frames to mess with, but nothing huge. This is more of a mix-up just to kind of keep them guessing, and doesn't really have as many advantages as buffering into the Gladius. It also loses hard if they do any kind of reversal DP, or if they just go for a standing light punch. It has to be after damage. Let's see here. There we go. You'll just trade, and if he is blocking and goes for the light punch, you get this forced knockdown float state where he could combo into DP, maybe even route into super. So use sparingly. The main thing that this will beat is if they are autopiloting lows to try to catch you charging the Gladius at the end of knee into Gladius. If, for instance, he was going for crouch medium kick, then you're gonna get a counter hit off any strength of Phalanx there into knockdown and into Oki. However, in addition to buffering into a special move, this button is also extremely valuable buffered into Drive Rush. It will combo into itself off of Drive Rush. It'll also combo into stand medium kick. Like so. On block is where this gets really interesting now, because this is Marisa's best Drive Rush cancelable normal on block altogether. On block, you get an auto-timed 50-50 between another knee or a command grab, both of which will beat them mashing buttons. You can also manually delay a stand medium kick, because otherwise it would be a true block string, and if you time that manual delay correctly, it allows you to hit confirm into combo, whereas you can't really hit confirm into anything other than canceling the second knee into Gladius if you're going for knee into knee. That's a tiny combo, but you get the idea. What's interesting, however, is that because this is a heavy, you can actually also just go into block and be able to block any possible reversal. This is a great bait if you're fighting someone who automatically goes for an ODDP every time they see you turn green, and can often be a really fun way to close out a round with a huge comeback if you know that your cash out combo from blocking the DP would kill, even though you were on a pixel. However, there are two additional properties to this knee, and the first is the target combo, which, as you can see on block, is -12, and it doesn't frame trap or anything. There is never a time that you want to be doing this target combo on block. It's also not really possible to hit confirm off of just one knee, so you're not really going to be doing this either. Where this is useful is in full screen and corner juggles, because off of that bounce, full screen, you can combo into level 2. Here's an example combo. You can get certain juggles with it in the corner depending on height. That'll allow you to do weird combos. If you get a high enough juggle, you can also combo into level 1. Although now, with the buffs, it's better to just do that off of a charged crouch heavy punch. So, not as useful as it once was. In the combo I demonstrated over here a moment ago, you can actually also get a jump medium punch at the end for some really unique Oki. So it absolutely has its use cases, but it's not something you want to be doing on block ever, or as a raw hit confirm. It is a combo tool. The last thing that is important about the knee is that because it is a heavy, and you're playing Marisa, this button can be charged. It is a very slow startup, it's a 27 frame startup, but on hit, you are plus 10, and it is hit confirmable, which means you can naturally combo into back heavy punch. Or if for some reason you struggle with the motion input, medium punches. Which makes it a gigantic combo starter. On block, you are plus 3 after this, and you are close enough to throw. Meaning your throw will beat them mashing, your lights would beat them mashing, or you can shimmy to bait the throw tack or bait the reversal. And it also chips quite a bit of drive meter on block, as you can see. It's already almost an entire bar. You add Gladius to that, and it's a little over a bar. And because it leaves you so plus, you can get a trade, I believe, with medium punch target combo. Yep. And it doesn't really combo into anything big after that, but they're pretty disincentivized from mashing. And off of Drive Rush, then you're actually plus 7, which means that this does beat buttons. Or actually, this is a true block string. Or if you want to beat buttons, you can go for back heavy punch. Like so. This is very useful if your opponent is kind of just hesitating to commit to anything in neutral. It'll catch them finally throwing out a button if you have a hard read, and it carries Marisa very far if they think they're kind of out of the range of you being able to do anything. This will still carry very far to have you suddenly coming in with a really big swing that is very threatening. And obviously, as an Oki tool, as I mentioned, off of Drive Rush, that's actually an auto-timed meaty off of the medium demon knockdown as well. So, a lot of different things that the knee can do. It sets up spacing traps and block string pressure that does a lot of damage to the drive meter. Uncharged on block. Charged on block, it establishes even scarier pressure that actually allows you to do follow-ups afterwards and makes it hit confirmable into combos. The target combo can be used in juggles that allow you to route into level 2 super, or even level 3 super, by the way, mid-screen. With a little Gladius under there. And it has the best drive rush cancel properties on hit or on block, really, for any of Modern Marisa's normals in this game. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a short form series in which I go over general use cases for all of Modern Marisa's normals. And we are on to the second of 3 non-crouching command normals, and that is forward medium punch. And this is a button that I really wasn't using for a long time as I was learning the character, and a button that I would now say is one of my most used normals as I have progressed in my understanding of the character. As you can see, on just normal hit, it's not really confirmable to anything, and you're only plus 2. But at plus 2, that does mean you can catch them trying to mash anything by hitting another light. And also that you can throw them, and that'll also beat the mashing if this left you close enough to throw, depending on the range at which you threw it. If you did it right up close, then you're pretty much still in throw range. Where this becomes a useful combo tool is on at least counter hit. If you see the counter hit pop up, you are +4, which means you can combo into crouch jabs, quarter circle back light, and potentially route into level 3 super as well. This button on block is also quite useful because it is safe at -3, which does create turn steal opportunities with OD stance, but that is neither here nor there. The important thing is this is a completely safe poke to use. You can potentially get a counter hit if you catch them in the startup of their move. It can sometimes be used as a punish or a whiff punish tool as well, and on punish counter you also get that combo into crouch jabs, so quite useful. This is just a very good poke. It goes surprisingly far, it's safe on block, it combos if you get a at least counter hit, and on normal hit, it's still pretty decent. However, that is not the only thing about this button. This button also has 2 target combos attached to it. One involves hitting forward medium again after the first forward medium for punch. And the other involves hitting heavy, forward heavy after the forward medium. Now, both of these are true block strings if the opponent is blocking, and they aren't really hit confirmable. So they have very niche use cases. This one is only really useful if you know that your opponent is always only stand blocking, or that they are trying to walk back after they block the first forward medium punch because they are not expecting you to go into the target combo that they were just holding walk back. If they were only stand blocking, then the low will catch them into knockdown, and it actually has the same knockdown frame data as Light Dima for familiar Oki if you have a strong sense of modern Marisa's Oki. But that is the only time you want to do this, because if they just block it, you are -12 and extremely punishable with like a heavy into a giant combo. So it's not just something you want to throw out. This one, with the heavy follow-up, as you can see because I'm flashing blue, is super cancelable. But it is only really useful, in my opinion, in situations where you already know that the forward medium punch is going to hit, such as a whiff punish, and you needed to route into super without spending any drive meter. If you know that this is going to hit, then you can actually route into an uncharged level 1 super off of this, a level 2 super, or even a level 3 super, but if you're routing into level 3, I would say you're better off going with the jabs into Light Dima extension, though this technically still works. And that is about all I have to say about Marisa's forward medium punch. Very useful poking tool, very useful neutral tool, potentially does get you combos that, while they don't do a lot of damage, lead to good knockdown situations for her, can create mix-ups at -3 if you know what you're doing from that, since you can condition them to not press if you keep throwing out stance, and then you can just loop it because they're afraid to press, even though you shouldn't be able to. That really should be a video of its own at some point, is specifically messing with OD stance and conditioning, but I believe that is all I have to say for this video about forward medium punch. Welcome back to What That Button Do, a little series where I, FemShep, go over general use cases for all of Modern Marisa's normals. And we are on to the last of Modern Marisa's command normals, and that is back heavy punch, which by itself in neutral, it's really not a neutral tool. As you can see, it's safe on block at -1, but it doesn't really get you anything that is particularly major. It doesn't go very far. You would want to be buffering this into most likely Light Gladius, because then you do chip a whole bar of drive gauge on block, and depending on the spacing, often set up a spacing trap where any of their mediums will whiff, and you can get a auto setup whiff punish opportunity. And if that whole thing hit and he wasn't blocking, great knockdown. but you're not really going to be throwing this out by itself. It's something that you want to be using in other sequences, and very often as a combo tool or a frame trap tool. One example is that this will beat mashing if they blocked a drive rush charged forward heavy kick. And in that situation, if they just blocked the whole thing and they didn't mash, you can take almost 2 bars of their drive away by the end of that sequence and set up the aforementioned spacing trap, which is very useful. This is mainly going to be a combo tool used in juggles. Any of your OD or heavy Dima juggles, you can drive rush into a back heavy punch. Then if you drive rush cancel, go into a charged back heavy punch, drive rush cancel again into either another uncharged back heavy punch or uncharged knee target combo to end that juggle for something that maybe looks like this. As you can see, juggle tool, also a very useful juggle tool because you can charge it in a juggle at the corner off any of the Dimas. Into Gladius for a meaty combo that also gives you, coincidentally, great meaties off Oki. You can actually get off the Gladius knockdown in the corner. If you go ahead and whiff frame kill a stand light punch, you get an auto-timed meaty, fully charged one of these after that combo. And that leads into my next point, which is the fact that there is, as you've now seen a few times, a charged version of this normal, which is a lot more useful as a pressure tool than this uncharged thing. Whereas this is -1, this is actually +4, and it chips a whole bar of their drive meter away. So when you are using this as a meaty, if it hits, it'll actually combo into the uncharged version of itself, and there's a lot of time to hit confirm it. Into back heavy, quarter circle, or if it's blocked, since you are +4, you can actually get a trade by then doing the uncharged version. And that trade leaves you plus enough to just do it again. Into combo. Or if they just decide to block the whole thing out, maybe you end with the Gladius, and again, you've chipped a bar and a half of their drive, you've put yourself at a really good spacing, you're just demolishing their drive meter. Because there is always the opportunity to frame trap after the charged version of this on block, a lot of people will eventually start going for reversals or tapping parry. So if you just wait instead, then if they did a reversal, you'll block it, they die, and if they went for parry, you can walk forward and throw them, or even command grab them to punish them, expecting you to continue this sequence when you were actually only doing the charged version. If you've really conditioned them to just block, you can also just start looping this and seriously deleting their drive meter and leaving yourself at excellent frame advantage into eventually where they feel they do have to press, and then when they do press, you actually do the frame trap and they get hit. You can also always buffer the frame trap uncharged one so that if it does hit, you already did a drive rush. Would have to be a bigger button there, hang on. And then off of that drive rush, you can hit confirm into the stand medium kick, which actually combos back into this button again. So as you can see, a juggle tool, a combo tool, a pressure tool, a very, very useful button to be sure. On hit off of drive rush, you are actually plus enough to go into forward heavy kick, which means you could do the heavy auto combo if you want, or just do any of the routes off of forward heavy kick. Hit confirm. Ahem. Sample tiny combo there. And I think that is probably all I have to say about this normal. Very useful, not really something that you're going to be doing just purely in neutral, but useful on Oki, useful to bully their drive meter, useful in juggles, useful in combos, useful in block strings, just a very, very good normal overall, and definitely something that you want to be using as a modern Marisa player. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, drop a like, a comment, a sub, and check out the rest of the series, and have a great day. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a short form series where I go over general use cases for all of modern Marisa's normals. And we are on to the last category of her normals, and that is jumping attacks. In recent patches, they have given Modern access to all jump-in attacks, so I will be covering all 6 of Marisa's jump-in buttons. All of the punches are accessed just by hitting light, medium, or heavy when you jump, whereas all of the kicks, you have to be holding auto when you hit light, medium, or heavy in the air. And this video is going to start with jump light kick, and that is auto light. This is a good jump-in because this is Modern Marisa's crossed-up normal when you're jumping at this weird range. You can go into a jab string that you can then hit confirm during the string into quarter circle back light. Or you can use the light auto combo, continuing to hold auto, and if it hits, then it'll automatically complete the combo. But if it was blocked, the cancel will never come out, even if you are mashing auto as hard as you can, because the light auto combo hit confirms for you. On block, like any jump in, it leaves you advantageous enough that you can try to frame trap with a light, you can try to go for a normal throw that would also beat mashing, or if you're confident that they're not going to press anything, you can go for a bigger button to get bigger pressure going. Or you can always just back up after the jump-in is blocked if you think they're going to try to go for a reversal at that point. On punish counter only. This is useful if you already saw, like as you went up, say Ryu was throwing a fireball, so you know it's going to land punish counter. On punish counter, jump light kick can actually combo into back heavy punch for a much bigger potential combo. Where if I were just to autopilot my standard light string into a level 3 cash out, $33.20, whereas a potential bigger cash out off that same starter we can actually do 55% mid-screen. So that is a potential higher level awareness thing that I personally haven't integrated into my play yet, but I see other Marisas doing it, and it's definitely something worth being aware of and worth eventually integrating into your play. I hope to do that myself. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a little series where I go over use cases for all of modern Marisa's normals. And we are on to the next jumping kick normal, and that is jump medium kick, accessed by holding auto and pressing medium in the air. I have literally never seen anyone use this button in a way that made it better than just using jump heavy kick in the same situation. I believe the use case for this button is please ignore it and use better buttons. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a little short form series where I go over use cases for all of modern Marisa's normals. And we are on to the last of her jumping kicks, and that is jump heavy kick, accessed by holding auto and pressing heavy in the air. This is generally your best jump in button on Marisa. It goes really far, and if you know it's going to hit, you can go into back heavy quarter circle back. by know it's going to hit, I mean you see your opponent committed to something like a fireball as you were going in, so you knew for sure that jumping was going to connect. If you aren't sure if it's going to hit, you can always do the back heavy into light gladius, and then if it's blocked, you set up good spacing for yourself and you still do quite a bit of damage to their drive meter, or you can buffer a drive rush behind that back heavy and then either go for a mix up there or hit confirm after the drive rush into a combo extension. Or you can go for your medium punches, but the medium punch target combo is quite unsafe on block 99% of the time. You can check out my video on Marisa's stand medium punch and associated target combo if you want to know more about that. So generally, I would advise against always doing that after a jump in is blocked. And always remember that you can just go for a throw as well if they are blocking it out, or just stop pressing after the jump in if you think that they think you are going to press and maybe they're going to DP or super after blocking the initial jump in. Well, you stop doing anything, you block the DP, and you blow them up. And that is about all I have to say about Marisa's jump heavy kick. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a little short form series where I go over use cases for all of modern Marisa's normals. And we are down to the last 3 buttons, and that is her jump in punches, which are accessed just by hitting jump in into light, medium, or heavy, no auto button required. And the first of these is jump light punch. Jump light punch is not something you are ever going to use as a jump in. This is very much an air-to-air button, specifically good at beating cross-up jumps. If Ryu is to jump over us at this range, then crouch heavy punch doesn't work as an anti-air at that range. Doing any kind of air-to-air with the medium may be too late. At this range, responding with an armor stance anti-air requires you to cross-cut it, which even on modern requires a lot of awareness, and it can be finicky with the range. Your best consistent answer to people repeatedly jumping over your head at this range is to jump back and press jump light punch, which does not actually get a knockdown, but it will reset you both to the ground. It'll interrupt them before they can hit you. It'll do a little bit of damage, and it will begin teaching them that they can't just play this game like it's Super Mario. They need to stay on the ground. And that is about all I have to say about jump light punch. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a little short form series where I go over general use cases for all of modern Marisa's normals. And this is the second to last of those normals, and that is jump medium punch, accessed just by hitting medium in the air, no auto button required. And the interesting thing about this button is that it actually has a target combo attached to it. So if I have Ryu just jumping here, as you can see, normally, even if I'm mashing medium, I only get 1 hit when I'm in the air. But if it actually connects, then you get this target combo. And that target combo actually gets very good meaties after the knockdown as well. You can drive rush into this, you can drive rush into this, you can drive rush into this, you could maybe drive rush into throw, depending on the range. Really, really good knockdown. And just generally Marisa's best air-to-air tool if you have the reactions. If it is last minute or if it is versus cross-up, you are better off with the light punch as opposed to the medium punch. You can check out the separate video on jump light punch to learn more about that. But this is a generally good air-to-air option to anti-air in a lot of these kind of middle range situations if they jump at you from like here, or if you're in the corner and they are trying to jump out of the corner, then jumping up or jumping forward with the medium punches is a good way to keep them in the corner. And that is about all I have to say about Marisa's jump medium punch. Hello YouTube, I'm FemShep, and welcome back to What That Button Do, a little short form series where I go over general use cases for all of modern Marisa's normals. And this is the final example of what that button be doing. This is the last of modern Marisa's normals, and that is jump heavy punch, accessed just by hitting heavy in the air, no auto button required. This generally is not an air-to-air option. It's the only of Marisa's jumping punches that doesn't really work as an air-to-air option. And the majority of the time, you are better off with jump heavy kick as opposed to jump heavy punch. The only time that jump heavy punch is really better is if you are landing directly on them. Like maybe you neutral jump baited a throw tech or a super or a wake up drive reversal, and you're going to land directly on top of them. If you were going to land directly on top of them, sometimes the hitbox of this is more advantageous for making sure it connects than potentially being a little too far forward with the heavy kick, depending on what they did underneath you. But that is really the only time I would advise using this button as a jump in over jump heavy kick. And you can see my suggestions for what to do after that jump in either hits or is blocked in the video on jump heavy kick. And thus concludes the What That Button Do series. Surprise! What That Button Do is actually not over. There is one low-key secret additional jump-in button, and that is actually jump-in into not just heavy, but down heavy. And this button is weird. I can't even tell you how long I played Marisa before I even knew this button existed. It can also technically hit as a cross-up. Ugh. You can tell I don't really use this button. You can't really do a forward jump of it into a cross-up, but like the frame data says it can hit as a cross-up, so I guess if they somehow walked under you, it could still cross them up. It's a jump in, to be sure. I don't really know why you would prefer this over other jump in or air to air options. It's just not a button I've made much use of, which should tell you that you really don't have to unless you want to. But it does lead into one last thing I wanted to mention, which is that all of Marisa's jump in heavies. So this weird thing, but also jump heavy punch and jump heavy kick, because they are heavies and this is Marisa, there is a charged version. And as you can see, the charged version will always lead to a knockdown. It's no longer a combo tool. And the only reason you would really want to be using these charged heavies is off of a safe jump situation when you are doing your safe jump in. And that is because on block, you end up enormously plus and can actually beat them mashing with a fully charged back heavy punch that sets up all kind of additional pressure opportunities that I discuss in the separate video about back heavy punch. You do give up the opportunity to combo if the safe jump actually hits them, since they would just get knocked down, but it's still worth noting that it's an option, and once you have them afraid of the charged heavy jump-ins, and you are confident that they are just going to block or parry. As you saw a moment ago when I was attempting to land those charged heavies, it's actually possible to time it such or to release it early in such a way that it looks like the charged heavy is going to hit, but it just whiffs like that. And then you can go for a throw or a command grab on landing after the feint to really confuse your opponent. And that is actually the end of the What That Button Do series. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day.
Where are you going? Before hitting like and subscribe,